The Northern Iowa Panthers, regular season champs in the Missouri Valley, meet last year's tournament kings, the Loyola Chicago Ramblers, in this year's semis. Watching Bracket Week, presented by Kubota. From beautiful downtown St. Louis, we welcome you to the State Farm Arch Madness Missouri Valley Conference semifinals. The 4 seed Loyola Chicago meets the 1 seed in Northern Iowa. To this point, chalk is held, and that's a true rarity in a league that deals in parity. It's only the 5th time in 32 editions of this tournament since it moved to St. Louis in 1991 that the higher seed has won every game up to this point. And we welcome you down the floor. John Sadak alongside the former Northwestern standout and Tim Doyle. Tim, these teams rematch a game that was played a week ago today. That was for all the marbles on the regular season. In winner take all, Northern Iowa took the crown as the regular season king. But this is about a berth in the title game of this tournament and a possible automatic entry to the NCAA tournament.
Well, we can only wish that this game is as great as the last one, a game that went to overtime and one of the best games in college basketball. Special atmosphere, a lot on the line.
A special player, A.J. Green, the player of the year in the Valley for Northern Iowa.
He is just a scoring machine, and he did whatever he wanted against Loyola last out. 32 points, got to the free throw line 18 times, but he is more than just a shooter. He is an all-around player, and in the quarterfinal against Illinois State, he made everybody better with those 7 assists. You see the 6 rebounds. He has to be a top priority for the Ramblers if they're going to pull up a W.
He's one of the great comeback stories in all of college basketball. For Loyola, their turn of phrase is different nights, different players, but one staple, Lucas Williamson.
Well, he is the Sister Jean of the Ramblers squad because this is his 5th year, and no player in Ramblers history has played more games. In my eyes, the best two-way player in the Valley. He is scoring the ball more efficiently. What a matchup that's going to be with Williamson on A.J. Green. Defensively, that's what Drew Valentine's team does. They lock up. You see what they did against Bradley? Had an awful time getting any good shots. But Loyola's not the #1 seed. UNI is trying to keep that top spot. The Ramblers seek revenge. John Sadak, it's simple. Something's got to give.
Make way for me. Make way for me. Legendary.
Northern Iowa and Loyola quite familiar with one another. When they first met, the Ramblers rattled off 14 triples. Panthers scored just 23 in the second half, their season low for any half of the season. Domination in the paint for the Ramblers. The rematch, though, close and clutch. A.J. Green and company not only drilled in from deep, but they got to the line of plenty. 32 fouls whistled against Loyola. Big part of Northern Iowa claiming the regular season crown with that win in overtime. For more on the coaching bracket, we'll take a look at that in a moment as we first examine our starting lineups, brought to you by Kubota. Braden Norris, Lucas Williamson, Tate Hall, Ahir Ugwa, Chris Knight for Loyola, Taiwan Pickford, A.J. Green, Nate Heisey, Trey Burhow, and Noah Carter for UNI. And now for more on the coaching breakdown, let's check in with Evan Washburn.
Hey, John, yeah, this head coaching matchup gives us a look at the two ends of the experience spectrum. We got Ben Jacobson, who's the longest tenured head coach in the league, making his 7th appearance in semifinal Saturday. And then you got Drew Valentine. He's the youngest coach in Division I basketball making his debut. We spoke to him about it yesterday, and he acknowledged it. And he said, look, I lean on my staff and my very experienced roster. He revisited that, guys, this week. After that loss a week ago, felt like he needed to get back to that core value of, again, leaning on the experience he has, not just on the court right now, but on this bench, fellas.
Appreciate that, Evan. And Ben Jacobson, the now 5-time all-time record Missouri Valley Conference Coach of the Year. All 4 of Northern Iowa's regular season conference crowns have come on his watch, including this season's edition. And so we're set to tip in this first semifinal in Arch Madness 2022. Controlled by the Ramblers, we are underway. Tate Hall defended by Green. Eyeballs not in the post, who gets fed. A.J. Green showing help instead. On high, Williamson. Williamson over top of Noah Carter.
I love his patience on that play. Got into the lane, didn't panic. Why should he panic? No one has played more games in the history of Loyola than number 1.
Today is 148th, his 99th straight start. Pickford looking for Heinze. Perhow, the one-handed snap to Green, given the isolation. Throw by help, rejection. Oh, Tate Hall out of nowhere.
And watch Lucas Williamson. He's become so much more of a scorer. He was always a great defender, a glue guy, but he knows for young Drew Valentine, he has to be the aggressor. He's been in big games like this before. And like you said in the open, John, a must-win spot for the Ramblers as Knight turns it over.
Is it a must-win for them? That's what Drew Valentine believes. He believes that if they lose this game, and many national prognosticators seem to agree, that their fate is far from certain in terms of the big dance.
Eyeball test, they are a tournament team. And their net right now is at 29, which is good enough to be in the tournament. I'm not so sure on Selection Sunday if they're going to get that nod if they lost today.
Carter misfired out of bounds. That's going to be one of the matchups we'll be watching today. Drew Valentine's team does have some size that can match up with Carter. They often do play a smaller lineup, but Carter's an out-of-position center, a true forward who's often outsized at 6'6".
He was great last matchup, 24 points against Loyola, and did a little bit of everything against Illinois State with 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists.
Backdoor look, and the Ivy League transfer Chris Knight had that pass deflected out of bounds.
I'm really surprised how Drew Valentine has taken over after 4 years as an assistant for Porter Moser, and they play so much faster now, Loyola, don't they, John?
They do, and there's Ugwak in rhythm, but an ugly look, and the rebound for Heinze. And they say it starts at this end of the floor. He calls that the lifeblood of his team, turning teams over, turning that into transition opportunities.
Yeah, he told us defense has to lead to offense.
Carter, deep three, off target, good box and board, Williamson has it. Shaping up, Norris gets fed, given little ground by Pickford. Ugwak twirling into a double, falling and misfire, rebound, oh, fighting throw, and Knight misfires himself. What's the energy like when you reach this stage? The crowd grows a bit, and the weight of this game more significant.
It's a great question, because now that I'm a father and I get winded mowing the lawn, it is something that I dream about when I did run up and down the floor. And, you know, these teams know each other so well. You and I in the first matchup only scored 58 points. How did they respond at home with all of it on the line? By scoring 102. So I don't really know what to expect from this game. I would love to see the last game from just a pure basketball standpoint, where one team scores 100 points. It's fun to watch. But so far, John, let's just say not trending in that direction.
Foul went to Williamson. He's out. Marquise Kennedy is in, who had missed 8 games in a row before this tournament with a hamstring injury. His skill called critical by his coach, and he contests Green, who hits heel, and the rebound to Tate Hall. The Ramblers run in a fury. Norris back, Green in the lane, giveaway. Green surveys. He can score and pass. Carter going strong with that shoulder, misfire. Ugwak.
That's just outstanding defense there by Chris Knight, standing his ground and not leaving his feet.
Ugwak gets by but can't finish. Pickford picks it up. Shooting has been unpleasant early. Carter right down the lane. High percentage play with the two-hand hanging hammer. Carter has really picked up his production of late. He's going to get a breather here.
Well, for a team that prides itself on defense, this is just a blown assignment there as Carter just, nobody near him, goes up, flushes it in, and took a while to get those 2 points, but it was emphatic, John.
Carter out. His time blossomed as Austin Fife battled illness, something that Evan will detail in greater length later in the show. Knight, 10 on the timer. Against Fife, help from Green, knocks it free. Bowen Bourne saw a double, able to flip it to Burhout. Bourne undersized, but an impactful player, their leading rebounder. Inside, lefty look off for Green. Ryan Schwieger, 2 touch passes, Kennedy. Norris into the lane, falling away, rattles in. Hadn't scored in 3.5 minutes, first making 5 tries for the Rangers.
And you could see Loyola is turning its back in order to get their shots. That's good defense for UNI. That was a really nice shot by Norris.
Green in and out, rebound, Fife with no angle, put back off target. Norris with a screen from Knight. Kennedy. Using his arm to create space, 16 to shoot. Mid lane with Green tumbling, Schwieger misses. Aggressive tie-up, jump ball. Arrow Flint favors UNI. Agent.
This game is exciting, and it's all on the line in the Valley.
College basketball on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. By Kubota. Together we do more. And by AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, and secure.
A 4-2 score defense has been the story early.
That was the story against Bradley as well, when the Braves only managed to score 50 points, and that game could put a glass eye to sleep yesterday, and that's what Drew Valentine prides himself on, that defensive end. Did you know what to expect from this game at the start? Did you think it was going to be in the 90s or 100s?
No idea.
How could you? First matchup, Northern Iowa scored 58 points. Looks like it's trending in that direction right now.
Green sees a double, able to find Fife. Bourne has his pocket picked. Here comes Williamson after a brief breather. Threads the needle. Hall finishes.
Well, that is what Drew Valentine talked about, getting offense from that defense. Right now, A.J. Green, he's got to find a way to relax his squad by creating something off the dribble for one of his teammates.
Pickford denied end line, loses handle. That is Rambler basketball.
This is an excellent bounce pass here. Kind of old school. A couple of 50-year guys connecting there. Hall's done an amazing job of being a starter, coming off the bench, going back to the starter role. He just adjusts for whatever Drew Valentine needs.
A couple of years ago, he was their second leading scorer. These days, in this varied attack, he's their 7th leading scorer. Drew Valentine hopping up and down in frustration. His arms now crossed as he pensively watches. Schwieger releases. A little flat on the 3. And the rebound to UNI and A.J. Green.
Schwieger is not shy. He comes in, he gets his shots up. He missed the floater, and that time he got a good look at a 3. Just wasn't able to convert.
Bourne gets heel. Second time, Schwieger bested inside out of bounds as he battled with Burhout. And we've seen some player rotation for Drew Valentine early. Hall out, Ugwak back in. They are a very balanced team offensively and defensively.
And guys that can really play different roles. You know, some games you see a different leading scorer. Having a guy like Marquise Kennedy back, I think, changes the complete dynamic of this squad because he's able to put the ball on the floor and make things happen off the bounce. That is where Loyola is not at their best. They don't have a ton of guys that can create off the dribble.
Uguak knocks it free from Carter. No possession exchange. Timer rolls at 10. Bourne against Uguak. 5 to shoot from near midcourt. And Schwieger has it. 2 passes. Uguak turns down the 3. Oh, nice cut. Fed in stride. Tom Welsh. The veteran head man, Ben Jacobson, watches. Looking for their 20th win of the year. Trying to propel them to the title game. Double lies it away for Carter. The blind pass tipped out of bounds by Uguak.
The energy is extremely high for Loyola. And I talked about that dribble penetration from Kennedy. Well, there it is, and finding Welsh, who's taken 13 shots over the last 4 games. He's made 12. That percentage is, I don't know, I can't do the math. Just very good, John. 12 out of his last 13.
At 13 for his last 16, averaging 7.5 per in 4 games entering this tournament. 3-ball release. Off for Burhow. Here's a lid on the cup. UNI hasn't scored in almost 4 minutes. Shaping up Norris. 3-ball. Ben Jacobson signaling timeout. And A.J. Green now pivots and sees it.
Guess what? It's March. Guess who's playing good basketball? You guessed it, Loyola.
Don't wait to put an end to junk sleep at Mattress Firm. Shop Tempur-Pedic, the most highly recommended bed in America, and get a $300 instant gift good towards sleep accessories. Thanks to our highly trained sleep experts, Mattress Firm is the #1 Tempur-Pedic retailer. With 200 hours of training, you can rest assured we'll find the perfect bed at the best price. In stock for immediate delivery with a low price guarantee. Only at Mattress Firm.
Welcome back to Bracket Week, presented by Kubota. In the Valley semifinals, 11-2 Loyola. It's a 9-0 run in this game. Here's the resume to this point. What stands out?
Well, I think this is the number right now. If you're a Rambler fan, you love this. 29, but you see Jerry Palm, our expert, says they must win the Valley. I'll say this, the tournament needs to slot 2 quote-unquote mid-majors or non-power 5 spots in the tournament, because what a memorable run that was going to the Final Four, and Sister Jean really captured the nation. That's what the tournament is all about. And for Loyola, you see the notable wins. They have an almost impossible time, John, scheduling. Who's going to come to Chicago and play Drew Valentine's team?
That's where you see their biggest win is the San Francisco win that was scheduled during the year on a neutral floor. UNI out of its called timeout. Pickford misses, rebounds his miss. Extra kick, Green, couple of jab steps. Ball screen, Carter, who dives. Pickford feeds Carter, didn't feel it coming, turns it over to Hall. UNI with 4 times as many giveaways as it has made field goals. Step out of bounds by Uguak.
All right, let me give Ben Jacobson some advice here. Let's get the ball to A.J. Green and have him make a play. And I'm going to tell A.J. Green, once in a while, you have to be selfish for the good of your team. So go make something happen right now, either with the shot or the pass.
Oh, he gets fed in stride. And there it is. The first points for UNI in nearly 5 minutes.
You think Ben Jacobson has an earpiece in?
No. Rattling in for Norris. Well, he went off in that game a week ago at 32 points, including 16 free throw makes. That was a career high, part of 32 fouls whistled on Loyola in that game.
The ball seems to be very slippery. Have you noticed that? Guys have been not just deflection, just losing the ball.
Burhow with 4 on the timer. Rebound, Pickford right on the spot. The rebounding was his forte as a freshman. When he averaged 8 boards a game, was second in the Missouri Valley. Schwieger, the hesitant 3. Not gun shy.
He comes in firing. Schwieger is a Princeton transfer, did not play last year because the Ivy League did not have games, so he had a 5th year, came to Chicago, and he's been great.
Oh, Green again, fed on the cut, rattles out, Uglok soars to grab it. Shields in transition, Norris. Hall uncorks it. Welch tip off, and Carter able to graze it to Green.
That counts as a miss for Welch, doesn't it, John? Doesn't miss many.
Pickford off the head fake. It is fun to watch Drew Valentine coach. He is about as animated as they come.
And I think his squad feeds off that energy. But you could see Northern Iowa starting to relax a little bit on the offensive end. They just need to see that ball go through the hoop. Now they need to stop on this end.
Schwieger slashes down the lane.
He's taking 4 shots in like his 5 minutes of playing time, Schwieger. Comes in, can post up, shoot the 3. He just has that YMCA game, and I say that with the utmost respect.
Pickford for 3. Rebound, Burhow, falling out of bounds. Throws it out of bounds. Drew Valentine's team on a surge. They have caught fire and defending with delight. You're watching the State Farm Missouri Valley Conference semifinals. Ramblers by 10 midway through the first half. Time now for the player profile, brought to you by State Farm as we look at Loyola's Lucas Williamson.
Does a little bit of everything on and off the court. You see the defensive MVP, and now more of an offensive player. Only Sister Jean has been around that campus longer than this fella, and he's just such a great example off the floor as well. He had a chance to not come back. And Drew Valentine said he didn't have to recruit a lot of players to stay in this program. But he was a little nervous, it sounded like to me at least, that he was concerned Lucas Williamson would take that next step. Well, he's taken his next step, and it's been on the offensive end.
He dropped 29 the last time these teams met. Today, he's been more limited. He's played just 5 minutes early on. It's been more of his teammates that have shouldered the load early. Kennedy in line. Floats it home as we check in with Evan.
Guys, listening to Ben Jacobson in that last huddle, it's all about a mentality, according to the head coach. Matching the physicality of Loyola on this end, fighting through screens. He told us, and it's played out this way. They make everything difficult, and he just challenges guys in that last huddle. Not about X's and O's, about mentality.
Appreciate that, Evan. Bourne, bad grain of the lane giveaway. Uglok alert again. Norris screaming for it in transition, gets fed. Extra pass corner, Kennedy off target. And the rebound, Knight, hard drop step offensive foul. Oh, Green sold that.
He sure did. Great ball movement there. Loyola got a good look, but watch how he drops the shoulder right there. AJ Green's been around a while. And sometimes you do that as a defender because you just think, oh, I have no other options. Like, this is the last resort. He's not going to block that shot. So Knight took the bait. And now for Northern Iowa, they have to get number 4 going in white.
Nate Heisey eyeballs Fife in the post. Being hounded by Knight. Carter to the table, ready to sub in. Bourne changing gears. High kiss with the left hand.
Well, Bourne's going to be a heck of a player in this league. He had 20 in the last matchup against Loyola. He's only a freshman, but he is not scared of any moment.
On the screen, frees up Braden Norris, and he buries it. A 43% shooter from outside. The Oakland transfer had been cold shooting in his last week plus entering this tournament. And Fife fouled by Knight.
Yeah, I mean, he does not need much space. Watch out when Kennedy comes off of this quick little handoff, and you got to fight over that. Once you go under, he's so smart. Hey, when you're 6 foot and you're not the most athletic guy in the world, you take advantage of any sort of mistake that the defense makes, and he has a hair trigger, and he's been great at the start of this game, Braden Norris.
That foul tonight, his second. He's on the bench. His stay going to last the rest of the half for the Ramblers. Green hasn't had a ton of touches. Looks to board the rhythm three off. Berhow back to Green. Uguak gives little ground. An outstanding defender. One hand flip corner. 10 on the timer. Wrap around the Carter. Up fake. And it'll go to the line. (23-10). The Ramblers the lead. Can Carter and company get back into it? Late stage of the first. Northern Iowa, Loyola, Chicago now. Still to come, Missouri State and Drake in the 2-3 tilt. Our second semifinal here in the Valley Tournament. The defense for Loyola has been on point.
Where you heard Evan sneak into the Ben Jacobson huddle, and UNI's coach challenged his squad to match that physicality. And the Ramblers set a tone early. They have UNI completely befuddled on offense. 0 of 8 for the Panthers from 3.
Meanwhile, Braden Norris for Drew Valentine's team already has 10 points, and he has been perfect. 4 for 4 from the floor, 2 for 2 from deep. And the defense bleeds into that, right? That kind of defensive success directly correlates to their offensive glory at the other end.
That's what coaches always wanted me to believe. They were like, if you play hard on defense, you'll make shots on offense. As I've gotten older, I've realized that's true. But as a player, I was like, how is that related? But it is. It's so true, and especially calling games for 15 seasons, it does go hand in hand together, John.
Rare free throw miss for Carter. He's one of the clutch shooters for the Panthers. They're a top 10 free throw shooting team in the country. And they can ill afford to give away any points.
And look for Norris here to go at Bourne, trying to take advantage of the freshman.
Schwieger, quick release. Tipped by Uguak and slapped around the green. Bowen Bourne, the 6th man of the year in the Valley. Last year, the freshman of the year in the league. Green picks it up. Williamson all over him. There's very little ball movement here. Green. Stepping back, contested triple. Rim and glass miss. Tracked down by Schwieger and the Ramblers. Norris, the shimmy, feeds Schwieger. He has a size mismatch on Bourne. Gets bumped and steps out of bounds.
And that is a poor turnover from Schwieger because he got the mismatch he wanted. Right when this switch happens, just keep that dribble alive. You know, he would have had 9 inches on Bourne, and now all of a sudden you got help defense. You could find shooters. And that was a missed opportunity for the Ramblers.
Panthers looking for offensive rhythm. Regular season champs for the 2nd time in 3 seasons. Bourne off the bounce. Carter. Over Hall. Banker off. And Uguak. Playful tip to his teammate at Hall. Remember, Knight on the bench with 2 fouls. Uguak on the aggressive drive. Whistle on the floor.
Is there 4 Uguaks out there? Because it seems like every play, he's either guarding A.J. Green, he's blocking a shot, he's rebounding. In the NBA, that's a 3-point play. But he has been remarkable. And you could see how Drew Valentine is rotating Uguak and Williamson onto the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year.
Yeah, Drew Valentine's got high praise for the shooting prowess of A.J. Green. Talked about his ability to hit deep shots. He had the count at 5 30-plus footers hit head-to-head by Green against Loyola Chicago this year. Hall. Williamson, nasty crossover. Snaps it off to Schwieger. And that shot looks a little flat today. Tipped by Heisey. Able to playground it to Green. When will Green take over? Miss. Kennedy right down the paint. Ole defense.
He changes Loyola because he can do something that not a lot of guys in the team could do. He can create for himself off the bounce. Played for the All-American Bob Frazier at Rice High School in Chicago.
Pickford, creative shot try. Schwieger able to box Williamson in stride. Shovel to Hall. They spread the floor incredibly well. Schwieger leaves for Hall. Green closes out. Williamson tried to save it. Out of bounds.
This is just the south side of Chicago waiting for the seas to part. And I think he's done an amazing job of playing in this system. I think if he was at another school, he could average 16, 18 points a game. But he's playing with a team right now that I think could beat anybody in college basketball if they're able to get into the tournament.
Get a timeout from Northern Iowa. Ben Jacobson trying to draw something up. Get ready for a star-studded showdown as historically black colleges and universities team up with CBS Sports for the very first HBCU All-Star Game. Watch the best from around the nation compete live from New Orleans Sunday, April 3rd, 4 Eastern on CBS, streaming live Paramount Plus. These are the teams of the week brought to you by the HBCU All-Stars. Our partner in the project to end that game, Morgan State, UMES, Maryland Eastern Shore, Texas Southern, longtime power in the SWAC, Alabama A&M. And that will be from Division I and Division II. So the SWAC, the MEAC, the CIAA, and the SIAC out of a second call timeout for Northern Iowa. They're 1 for their last 7 from the field. The offense has been slight. What do you say?
I say you need movement off the ball. Look how many guys are standing around right now. That makes it really hard to score. Now Carter gets the putback there. There's nothing harder to do than what LeBron does. When he dribbles the ball at the half court, he tries to score with everybody watching him. That's what the UNI's trying to do. They need a lot more movement. Look at Loyola move on the offensive end. The ball is swinging side to side.
Uguak trying to find a cutting Schwieger. Couldn't handle Burhow. The turnover. Heisey walks it up. Green, who's been held in check. He's 1 for 7, 2 points. Out of the corner. Snap of the twine. Trey Burhow.
He made 3 of those yesterday against Illinois State. Big shot there.
Kennedy, immediate response. Cold-blooded.
Was I right about this kid or what? He is a player. Missed some time for the Ramblers, but when he's on the court, as dynamic as it comes in the Valley.
Green. Uguak gives no ground. I think each team welcomes that isolation. Kennedy helps on a double. Jump through. In rhythm. Heisey buries it. Heisey had been ice cold entering this tournament. 3 for 17 from deep. That's UNI's first made triple. Kennedy in the lane, twisting, rattling out Carter. And Kennedy slow to his feet. Green the other end behind the hard Carter screen. Carter to Green. Are these good looks for Green?
I mean, that's a great look. That was a blown assignment there by Kennedy. Why gamble off of A.J. Green? Didn't end up burning him on that play. But that's one that you don't want to be in film session if he makes that shot.
Williamson stepping back. Welch surrounded by white jerseys and one. He had 4 Panthers bracketing all around him.
He has been relentless on the boards and efficient underneath. Loyola flexing its muscles in St. Louis.
Comfortable lead for Loyola Chicago. Sister Jean and the Ramblers trying to make it back-to-back trips to the big dance for the first time in almost 60 years. Could they do it by winning the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament in their last go-round? in this dance and this league. They'll depart for the A10. The league will add Murray State, Belmont, and UIC as it expands next season.
Well, right now, Murray State in the top 25. Belmont's always a perennial power. Great city as well in Nashville. And then you keep that Chicago presence with UIC. I think the Valley nationally, as we're looking at a national treasure there, Sister Jean. I've touched that scarf before. Hasn't won me any money, but I feel like it's kept me working with you long enough. I feel like the Valley doesn't get the respect nationally it deserves. Evan?
Well, Tim, I haven't touched Sister Jean's scarf, but I have gotten updated on not just where she is. She's going to be 103 in August, but the fact that, guys, after every game, she writes an email to every member of this team, Andrew Ballantyne. Now, the body of the email is the same for everybody, but at the end of the email, it has a specific tag for each player. So Lucas Williamson has a specific tag, but so does the guy at the end of the bench who didn't play at all. That's next level.
She is beloved by this team. We appreciate that, Evan. And time and dedication as Green swishes it home. By the way, while we were away, they did accurately credit a 3, not a 2 to Trey Burhow, and added a point to Northern Iowa. That's why we stand at 10. Good block, defended by Green. Williamson. Paul releases. It's heel. Green's got it. The bench for Northern Iowa staying incredibly active right now as Green beats Williamson off the bounce. Late help comes, and he fights on through. That's only the second bucket of the game for the Conference Player of the Year. And as the Ramblers get it across, Drew Valentine asks for a timeout.
Well, we talked about earlier in the game, being selfish for the good of your team. I thought he made a really tough pull-up jump shot, and then this is about as hard a drive as you can make in college basketball because you got one of the best defenders in the land on you. You got help coming, but A.J. Green is putting his team on its back. It's 8 right now. John, if they could get this to 5 or 4, what a win, because they've been outplayed in this first half, the Panthers, for 17 minutes. You think that's fair?
I would say that is exactly right. Coming up AT&T at the half, Brett Stover, Chris Walker, John Rothstein standing by in our New York studio. We'll get you caught up in all the day's news and highlights. All head your way on AT&T at the half. Well, Northern Iowa began the game a putrid 5 for 25 from the field. Since then, it has hit on 5 of its last 6. It's gone on a 12-3 run to draw within 8. So now out of the Ramblers called timeout.
I would go right back to Schwieger, and he's got the mismatch.
Norris, nice no look, and Welch finishes.
That was like a textbook on dribble drives right there. If you looked up how to run a perfect dribble drive execution, that was it from the Ramblers. Wow.
Williamson getting more aggressive with Green, who decides to try to post him up. Now falling away from the elbow, no. Hall. Ramblers want to run. They'll do it on makes and misses. Hall, extra give corner. Schwieger has that mismatch you identified, slapped by Board. Williamson. Oh.
And you get 2 for 1. And I know Lucas Williamson is smart enough to know that. A lot of college players, they don't take advantage of that.
Board turns it over. Now the shot clock and game clock are virtually identical to your point.
I think that it's a must. It only happens once a game because there's only 2 halves in college basketball. But Williamson recognized that. Now a chance to get 5, maybe even 6 in the last 2 possessions.
Drew Valentine had a flat hand, palm down, telling Norris, wait. Runned in earnest, 6 to shoot, Williamson. Norris, 2 to shoot, heaving the horn, yes! Braden Norris! An 8-0 run in a crisp minute plus.
And we were saying, can you and I get it to 5 or 6? Simple answer was no. It was that 8-0 run, 16-point lead. It's March, and the Ramblers are rolling.
Loyola Chicago's largest lead of the game arrives as halftime hits as we check in with Evan.
Well, Coach, defensively, have you controlled this game without fouling this time around?
I mean, our guys, they have more of a purpose out here. When our guys are locked in, when they're intense, when they have a purpose and they're playing, within the competitive championship edge that we talk about bringing every game, we're a pretty good defensive team, and I think we've shown that over the past, 3 halves, but it's not over with. That team in that locker room, they're a team full of winners. They got great culture. AJ's a tough player. He made a couple tough shots. We made it hard on him, but they're really good.
What have you been most pleased with offensively?
I thought, for a little bit in the beginning of the half, I thought we were really getting out and transitioning, running. I thought we were working through possessions, playing to the second, third side, playing late in the shot clock, keeping our spacing and pace the right way that needed to be. And then we went one-on-one a couple times and got a little self. But then right there at the end, we got back to our unselfish Loyola Chicago kind of basketball. And when we share the ball and we play with pace in the half court and in the full court, we got a lot of weapons out there and a lot of skill. And I believe in our guys.
Coach, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
John?
Appreciate that, Evan. 23 points for UNI. They've been held to that slim total and a half twice, both times courtesy of Loyola Chicago. It's the State Farm Missouri Valley Conference semifinals. After the break, Brent and the gang in New York. Back at the State Farm Missouri Valley Tournament semifinals, Loyola Chicago 39, Northern Iowa 23. John Sadak, the former Northwestern standout. Look at that head of hair. That's Tim Doyle. Tim, what did you see in that final sequence, the last minute plus of the first half?
Well, that was the turning point in the game. We were thinking that was a chance for the Panthers to maybe close it to 5 or 6. Instead, the 8-0 blitz. And you heard Chris Walker there in studio. He said it best. It was lights out. It really was. They hit you like that, and now all of a sudden UNI's got a really tall mountain to climb.
For Loyola Chicago, Braden Norris, sensational. He did not miss.
Yeah, and check out the way he scored. He's known as a shooter, but there, creates for himself, and then this is what he does so well. 3 of 3 from 3, and then puts it on the ground. That was kind of the dagger as Loyola took a 16-point lead. But check out the bench points. How great has Kennedy been off the bench with 7 points? Welch has been efficient as well, 3 of 5. If you're Ben Jacobson right now, you need more movement on the offensive end.
For word from the head man, let's check in with Evan.
Well, Tim Doyle has great hair, and he's also very smart because Ben Jacobson said he wants better pace offensively. The ball screen defense from Loyola disrupting that pace. Defensively, it's simple. Just stay in front of your man. Getting too many easy looks. That's Loyola offensively. He was all business, though. There's a calm with this team despite some youth in key spots. And, guys, just a note, an injury to one of our officials, Gene Grimshaw. He's out. Roland Simmons steps in.
Appreciate that, Evan. Apparently a calf injury. There is a standby official at events like this, just in case something like this happens. Now, the Ramblers closed the first half on an 8-0 surge. At the start of the second, Knight doubled. He sat for bulk of that half in foul trouble. Williamson given time and space. Missed target. And tracked down by the Panthers. And when we spoke with Ben Jacobson yesterday, he talked about the key to get on the defensive hip of Loyola, not to go at their chest. What does that mean?
Yeah, you want to get a little bit of an edge where you're not necessarily by them, but you're able to get your shoulder past them and then use that leverage and that strength. I just think there's a lot of pressure on AJ Green to make shots. He does there, but everybody else is standing around. Like off the ball, maybe run like a drift or some sort of action. It's just a lot of standing around, which puts a lot of pressure on AJ Green. That's how great he is. He's still able to score, but all eyes are on him. There's just going to be no way UNI can win just watching him go one-on-one.
Down the lane, Hall without a plan finds Ugwak, contested by Green, off, tapped by Knight, controlled by Williamson. Norris walks it. Oh, head fake. Duped his man and his first misfire of the day. Now, by the way, the halftime margin
we're getting word was the largest halftime deficit for Northern Iowa in at least 2 years.
Wow.
Remember, in the first meeting, which was a demolition, it was the second half when Loyola Chicago held the Panthers to 23 points after the break.
All this action, John, is just trying to get Green the ball. And then when he gets it, it's very predictable. Everybody's just kind of standing around being like, all right, AJ, like, go make something happen. That's really hard to play basketball like that. There's so much pressure on him. I know he's the Valley Player of the Year. In last meeting against Loyola, he had 32 points, but he's going to need some help getting himself free and from his teammates.
Tremendous comeback story from a couple of hip surgeries. Contested three, an air ball. Norris just boxes and lets it sail out of bounds.
Are you understanding what I'm saying? It's just like, here's the ball. Like, it's that.
I get it. I see it.
Nothing
We've
is
seen it all game.
Nothing is harder in the world. What LeBron does, there's only one guy that can do that. Just give me the ball. I'm going to dribble a half court. Everybody watch me. We're going to score. It's a lot of pressure to put on your star player.
But to continue that point, he only played 3 games last year due to the hip injury and had to have 2 different surgeries spread apart by months. And started quite slowly before he found his shooting point. Ukwa, physical in the lane, and Carter cleans up the miss. Drew Valentine wants Kennedy to sub in. And miscommunication there. Pickford cut end line. Green flips it out of bounds.
And we talked to AJ Green earlier in the year, and he said, if I wanted to go out and get 30 every game, he goes, not to be cocky. It's like when you say no offense and then you offend somebody. I love the fact that he was cocky. He goes, I can get 30 every game if I want. It's best when I'm including my teammates. He did that against Illinois State when he had 7 assists and 6 rebounds. In this game, not so much.
Kennedy feeds Knight with a whistle and foul. We'll get Green trying to fight through the screen.
You do that to me all the time. You say no offense and then just completely offend me.
Anybody listening to this game readily knows what the reality is. I love you, my friend.
Love you too, pal.
Norris underneath against Carter. Out of bounds. The Rambler fans believe he was pushed.
There's a lot of contact there, and the referee has to make a call at that point, and I thought that was a good call. I think someone has to score other than AJ Green to get them going. Whether it's Carter or somebody else has to put the ball in the basket for the Panthers.
Burhow making to Pickford. Green wide open. And misses. Carter gets the rebound. Drop step strong. Rejected hard by Knight. Ripped down to the ground. Norris has it. Tie up. And I would assume a jump. Yes, jump ball. Possession maintained.
What an unbelievable block by Knight. Watch how he swings his arm and is able to get ball. Right there. Normally when you swing that violently, as he did on that play, the ref just calls a foul because you like wind up. But he got a lot of ball in that play. Then you see some extracurriculars afterwards. What an amazing block by the 5th-year senior from Madison, Wisconsin.
A timer to 20, lob entry. Goes to Carter. Carter, is it not free? Stolen by Kennedy. Right at Green, and he got a piece. A technical foul. And it looks like to Drew Valentine and the Rambler bench.
You talked about in the first half, partner, how animated he gets on the sidelines. Do you think that was the cause of the technical?
You're our analyst. What do you think?
You know, I thought that was a foul. Right when Green puts his hand right there on Kennedy, that's the foul. So, yeah, he got a lot of ball there, but there was a, you know, you can't use the guy as leverage in order to get up and block the shot. There was a lot of ball. Kennedy's a bench player. AJ Green's the player of the year in the conference. And the player of the year of the conference got the call.
And a top 10 free throw shooter in the country.
Write down that moment, because you know you never want to get a technical foul. Nonetheless, up 13 points. And now you give Northern Iowa a chance to cut this to single digits. And that's one I'm sure Drew Valentine and his staff is going to want back.
So a couple of points for the Panthers.
And you actually wrote that down. Thank you. Usually you never listen to me.
I listen all the time. No matter how many times.
Thank you for doing that.
Heisey contested at the rim by Knight. He has become a force on the back third of the season. And a foul in transition on Heisey. Drew Valentine loves it.
Yeah, Drew Valentine gave the watch this little Tiger Woods afterwards.
Now we are getting word that apparently there was a warning from referee John Higgins to Drew Valentine before that technical.
That was a big stop, because if Northern Iowa would have scored there, would have cut it to 9. Single digits as a player is a mental hurdle, like cutting it into single digits. Knight and Glock, their physicality has not been matched by UNI.
And a big reason for that, Austin Fife so limited due to long COVID. He is set to sub in. Kennedy rattles it in. But Fife is severely limited to about 90 seconds to 3-minute spurts. Had been a starter who was a good 30-minute-a-game player. And the whistle comes off ball underneath.
You know, if they start calling this game, it seems to be the start of second half, a much tighter whistle, that's advantage UNI. Because Loyola, they want to play with that physicality on the defensive end. They want to take you out of your rhythm.
Fife gets fed, forcing it to Green, tipped out of bounds. Well, that was on display 1 week ago today. And there were 32 fouls whistled on Loyola. And Northern Iowa attempted 42 free throws. The State Farm Missouri Valley Tournament semifinals here at CBS Sports Network. Loyola Chicago has led by as many as 16 points in this game. Northern Iowa has not known an advantage, but Drew Valentine's team did see what you believe a slight swing, perhaps, with that technical foul call that seemed to take some of the wind out of the sails of the Ramblers. John Higgins, who administered that tech, just caught up there with Drew Valentine.
Drew Valentine is 30 years old. You know, think back to when you were 30 years old. Our decision making was still growing at that time, and I think he's still growing as a coach, and he'd be the first to admit that. You know, Evan mentioned that at the start of the game, and how he leans on his older staff members for guidance and advice.
Evan?
Well, guys, despite the change in momentum and maybe the tenor of this second half for Loyola Chicago, Drew Valentine's message, don't let it impact your physicality. Don't let A.J. Green get comfortable. Those were the two priorities.
Appreciate that as you see Fife knock down his first bucket. Austin Fife, 6'9", 250. Bit of a legacy. His dad, Steve, was part of Northern Iowa's first ever Division I NCAA tournament team. Pokes that out of bounds.
This has been the matchup. You got the defensive player of the year and the player of the year going at it. So far, edge, Lucas Williamson. And A.J. Green's been asked to do an awful lot by himself. It's basically him on an island, and all the Ramblers are helping. Him and his teammates have not been able to get on the same page. Can they get a stop and close this to single digits?
And there's Fife right in the thick of it again. Out of bounds, and the Ramblers slow to get up. There's Welch. Tom Welch battling all Fife. The backside of the hip right to the face. You had highlighted Welch's rebound impact in the early stage of this game.
Well, he's been great over the last 4 games. Went a stretch where he made 12 out of 13 field goals. He understands his role. Yesterday only played 11 minutes against Bradley, gave you 8 points. Just as rock solid, steady. He certainly seems to be shaken up. Looks like he's smiling there, which we all want to see, but
Athletic trainer Corey Oshokoya, along with head coach Drew Valentine. And the turn of phrase for the Ramblers: different players, different nights. And of late, Welch has had the spotlight more in these last couple of weeks, but continues to clutch at the back of his head and his neck area.
To his head right away.
And you wonder what the impact will be on the rest of this game, and you hope the young man's okay. So Welch, it appears, will leave the floor, go back to the locker room for further examination. And now again, the game has been paused. The emotional tenor slanted. Does that impact things for Northern Iowa, whose fans rise? Out of the corner, quick load, Burhow rattles it in. And it's down to single digits. The deficit sits at 8. Well, the Ramblers respond. Williamson. Kennedy, that purposeful pause, but the shot altered by Heisey. Bourne hasn't been on the floor in a bit. Cross it over Norris. Screen from Fife. Burhow again! Off the front lip, Williamson. Uguak ready to sub in. Jacob Hudson getting some rare time. And a foul.
This was the best offensive possession that I have seen from UNI in about an hour. They got dribble penetration. The defense helped. Excellent look there by A.J. Green. I thought Burhow's three that he just missed was the biggest shot of the game. Now, if they get a stop, UNI, then that possession will become the biggest possession of the game.
Uguak. Schwieger play catch. Green against Uguak. Norris off the feet. Green gives help. 3 to shoot. Fall away. Uguak. Extra pass. Williamson steps into it. In and out. Knight. Thought it up and down, but not consistent possession there. It was lost on the way up. Carter has a big seal on an undersized man with the ball out of bounds.
Oh, what a huge opportunity for the Ramblers. And Knight just shot that ball into the rubber underneath the basket. And then a careless turnover. We talked about the best possession of the last hour. That might have been the worst possession of the last hour. It was going nowhere and no need for that.
It is a mini 7-2 run for Northern Iowa. Ramblers haven't scored in over 2.5 minutes. The pace has become plotted. Can the Ramblers release it? Hall picks it up, needs help. Carter smothers. Williamson, 9 to shoot. Green all over him, help, knocked it free. No possession exchange, 4 to shoot. Schwieger, deep 3, at the shot clock buzzer. And Schwieger's having trouble getting to his feet. He is wincing in pain and spun his wheels on a slippery floor. Carter, help from Schwieger, tied him up. And a foul. Look at Schwieger reaching in.
And we talked about UNI having a couple big possessions empty here. Why help? Why help when Williamson drives right here? Where's he going? Why would you leave Schwieger? Like, that's the stuff that why I didn't become a coach. Williamson's going nowhere. He has no edge. Why would you leave your offense? You know, and that's where, you know, you become sometimes Reggie Jackson and naked gun. Like, I must get the ball. When he walked in, like, I must get the queen. You just start going towards the ball, and you need to stay with your defender at that point.
So it could be brainwashed.
Well, like, by the way,
I hear what you're saying.
It's one of the great movies ever. Yeah, you forget that you're guarding somebody and you just go to the ball.
Not free. Bourne. What a tie-up and a jump ball. These teams want
There he is again, that man, Lucas Williamson, and then this is just Rambler basketball. 3 guys diving on the floor. Wow, it's Williamson again who knocked it away. He's back into play. You're going to look back at those empty possessions. The Burhout 3 and then the careless turnover. It was 8 at that time. And then you blow an assignment and leave a shooter. And now this is you get a basket here. I mean, you're really sitting chilly if you're Loyola.
Kennedy. And a foul. After a brief time away, Welch has returned for Loyola Chicago. Good sign.
I think that Loyola's postseason success is going to come down to Marquise Kennedy. Because when they go through lulls, that's their one offensive hiccup, is they don't have a great guy off the dribble just to create a shot.
Ball against Green. Rolls off the lip of the rim. Kennedy. Hall on the end line, denied by Green. Norris snaps it to Kennedy. 5 to shoot. O'Clock with 2 on the timer. And the rebound, UNI and Trey Burhout.
And no Williamson out there. Look for A.J. Green to be aggressive here. He's going to like the matchup, not seeing Lucas.
Gets doubled, gets fouled on the help by Welch. An 11-point difference with a spot in the title game on the line. Ramblers up 44-33. Back on Bracket Week, presented by Kubota. Loyola, 44-33 lead as we tip the hat to Mr. Jack Watkins, Associate Commissioner of the Missouri Valley Conference, enshrined into the State of Missouri Sports Hall of Fame in November. He's now in his 30th season with the Valley. He's worked in media services, advertising, marketing, television, and championship administration. He is the key figure in why Arch Madness is March Madness. This feels like an NCAA tournament game. In fact, he's run the show at nearly half a dozen NCAA tournaments. His efforts have brought in millions of dollars to this area. He is a leader, he is a champion, and he will be coordinating things when the big dance is back here in 4 years' time.
Beautifully said there, John. A spiffy dresser as well. You admired the pocket square.
I mean, look, that pocket square is elite. That is on point. Well, kudos to Jack, and also thoughts for his wife Jenny. She's at home recovering from surgery. Typically would be here. She's watching from home. Know that Jack and all of us are thinking of it. 3 ball. Here comes Kennedy. The pace feels different.
This feels like a Porter Moser Loyola team, like a lot of grinded out possessions. Drew Valentine's playing faster. We're scoring more points, almost 88 game this year. But this is kind of old school Loyola. Deep in the shot clock, move the basketball, don't turn it over.
5 to shoot. Schwieger. Leading effort, that was altered by Heisey. They have gone to 5 or less in the shot clock. 4 of their last 5 possessions. Green nearly has his pocket picked by Williamson. Norris and Hall ready to sub in for the Ramblers. Carter. Over Schwieger. He'll go to the line.
A chance to get this game back to single digits. I am mesmerized at the matchup of Lucas Williamson and A.J. Green. And when I look at A.J. Green's game, I see a lot of C.J. McCollum in him. And Lucas Williamson right now can defend at a pro level. And if his three-point shot becomes better than average, I could see him being a Bruce Bowen type. Because his defense, I mean, he is amazing. We showed a play before where he had the deflection and then he dove on the ball was past that court. So I think we're looking at 2 pros in this game. And they're guarding each other, which is pretty cool.
Back back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year accolades for Williamson, who has been lauded for those efforts. Here's the first free throw for the Ramblers. Capping off the and one for UNI rather. And Carter. And the ball out of bounds. Now bonus is only a foul away with 6 fouls on the Ramblers. We got a lot of time left in this second half. Norris tumbles out of bounds.
Well, when Kennedy is not in there, that is one thing I have noticed. Is Norris and Williamson, they'll give you their back a lot because they have a tough time getting that straight line drive. They just don't have that same quick twitch explosiveness. Huge possession here for the Panthers.
Green into the lane. Late contest by Knight. Might have altered that. Green slow to get up. Power play for the Ramblers. Norris feeds Hall. Rhythm 3 off target. Carter rebound. Ben Jacobson said he wanted to push the ball. He thought that's where they could thrive offensively. And a foul off ball. Williamson was matched up with Carter.
This is the time right now for Northern Iowa. You could feel the momentum here. Their crowd, their great fan base, they want to get involved. A 3 here would make it a 2-possession game. First is going to be free throws as Loyola's in the bonus. Wow.
Yeah, that is now 7 fouls. So Carter, who's nearly automatic on the year, goes to the stripe. The foul to Williamson, his 3rd.
Well, that changes everything.
And he misses. Second free throw miss of the game, and this one even bigger, front end of the 1-and-1.
Huge, no doubt, John. Well said. But now look for Green even to be more aggressive because every foul is going to be free throws.
Schwieger buries the 3. That's his 3rd triple. He has nearly as many three-point makes as the Panthers team. They're a combined 4 of 19. Gray trying to shake Ugwak physically. Cannot, and a foul in pursuit of the loose ball on Schwieger.
Now free throws for UNI, but you got to convert. Schwieger's been, I love his game. Like, I'm going to get his cell phone number. He's playing on my beer league team next year because he's got a great post-up game. He shoots the 3 that time. Maybe a little overzealous. His 3rd foul, but 11 big points. The bench for the Ramblers has just been out of this world this afternoon.
27-4, their bench has outscored UNI. Burhow, the Pepperdine transfer, who led the team in scoring last year when injury basically was half the season for A.J. Green. Burhow shouldered the load. A Panther team that's excellent at the line of the year has a plum opportunity. Do the Ramblers ratchet things up pace-wise? Kennedy against Heisey. Ball screen Welch. Welch wants it against Heisey down low. 5 to shoot. Ugwak. Norris out of the corner. And the shot clock buzzing. Green flat-footed. And Welch just goes up and gets it. Deflected by Carter. Pickford surveys. Carter, extra pass. Burhow leaning into it. UNI hasn't hit a field goal, Tim, in almost 7 minutes.
That was a great no call there by John Higgins, who's been reffing since 1926, but good job of not letting the player kind of create that contact. It's been some breakdowns defensively for UNI, leaving shooters, and Loyola's taking advantage.
Timeout, Ramblers. It's bracket week presented by Kubota. Let's take a look at the AT&T 5G game difference between the two teams. Bench points decidedly to the Ramblers, led by a single trio. Welch, Kennedy, and Schwieger have combined for 27 points. What did you see in the last defensive breakdown?
Yeah, there was really no discipline here right from Noah Carter. You don't want to lose Braden Norris at any point. Watch how the dribble penetration and Carter gets caught in no man's land. Well, why run at the ball? Stay with the shooter, especially one of the best shooters in college basketball. You help, he makes you pay. There's not been a ton of made shots here in the second half, but that was a big one.
Fife is back in for UNI. See how long it's been for UNI without a bucket. 5 to shoot, Schwieger. Welch at the horn. And won by the Panthers.
Remember, UNI is in the bonus, so they can be and want to be aggressive attacking the rim, but you want to get into stuff a little bit quickly here. You're down 13.
Green has been held at 4 of 17 shooting. Leaning over top. Can't finish. Schwieger barely held the pivot. Norris anticipated a touch much. Welch dive on the floor. It was a hard tumble. Ugwak summoned to sub in. And Fife bodied by Welch. That'll be a foul. We will step aside. The Ramblers keep on rolling. They have just beat the buzzer multiple times. This bracket week presented by Kubota. Just over 7 minutes to go in this semifinal. Missouri State and Drake will collide for a second straight year in the semifinal to come after this. Of course, the winners will meet at 2 Eastern tomorrow on CBS. Kevin Harlan, Dan Bonner will have that call. Evan Washburn will remain here. He's kind enough to join us today, back-to-back, and then the triple threat will come tomorrow. Fife at the stripe. Diverts on the front end. Foul to Welch. That brought about the media timeout. It's his second. And this is the last of the one-and-ones. And he hits them both as we check in with Evan.
Well, you mentioned it earlier in terms of the long COVID for Fife. He had COVID in the midsummer and just couldn't get back into game shape, recovered. And then there was a long period where they weren't sure if it was something he just had to fight through. They've got to a point now of accepting the fact that, as you mentioned, 1.5 to 3 minute spurts. The beauty of it, though, guys, as challenging as this has been for Fife, a guy who's a first-team all-conference player 2 years ago, Ben Jacobson telling us he goes into the game with a smile, he comes off the court with a smile. It's that leadership that this team has counted on despite his impact on the court being minimized.
Appreciate that, Evan. He uses an inhaler to try to manage some of the circumstances. Contests Knight there, forces the miss. Young man led the state of Iowa in rebounding coming out of high school. Oh, what a rejection by Knight. His defense has been stellar. Schwieger wants it. Norris feeds him. Schwieger pass, 5. He'll go to the line.
I've never described somebody's game like this, but Schwieger is slippery. Just like finds a way to get open from 3. Not the most graceful driving to the basket, but figures out a way to like duck under your armpit, kind of smell you, and then like make a layup.
You think he catches a whip?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Watch how he like ducks under his armpit, right here. Should have made that layup.
Well, he's been in double figures this year. The team is 10-1, and he's looking for his 12th point, and he gets it.
I would have a hard time figuring out, if I'm Drew Valentine, who's been the most valuable player off the bench. Because everybody who's come in has done something. Welch, Kennedy, Schwieger. Huge difference makers in this game. The bench is the story of the game. 28-6, Loyola edge.
Green Green to Carter. Backing down Williamson. No call. In and out, Uguay. And a flop against Williamson.
I mean, John Higgins has to make that call because when bodies collide like that, it's something, right? It's a charge, it's a block, it's a flop. We saw A.J. Green do this in the first half. He got the benefit of the call. I don't necessarily think Carter really dipped that shoulder. They won't lose possession on the play, but they missed the front end of a 1-and-1. They missed the layup on that possession. 2 different times they left shooters when they didn't have to. In a game where there's a 4 possessions there, you turn around and this is like a 2-possession game.
Well, and to your point about the bench play, that's the difference. Starters to bench for the Ramblers today. The depth of this Rambler team. You know, there was a time when Schwieger was leading them in scoring in the first third of the season. And he was their dominant force on their neutral floor win, their biggest win against San Francisco. Playing some keep away here. 2 to shoot, Norris. Ball fired, Kennedy the rebound, they can reload.
I would give the bench MVP to Marquise Kennedy. How about yourself?
I don't know that I'd give it to any one player because I think it's the efforts of the entire bench. I don't think we have to. It's not sponsored, is it? Uguay, 2-hand jam.
Sponsored by nobody. Loyola's up 14.
Burhow. Panthers running out of precious time. And Loyola can calmly walk it up, and that's one of the weaknesses for the Panthers is trying to turn teams over. Williamson. Green, the player of the year in the league. Foul on the floor.
Great dive there by Uguay. He's just been a force on both ends. I thought defensively, Uguay and Knight, along with Williamson, changed the game. Really set the tone for the Ramblers. And you think Northern Iowa gets to 50? Because that's how many points Bradley scored yesterday against Loyola.
They held Evansville to 30-something, right? It was at 31 points. That was the next to last game of the regular season. There's the production for Green, contrasting season to today. And the inefficiency even more than the subpar volume. The foul, by the way, to Schwieger is 4. And it looks like we'll get another timeout here. 53-41. Ben Jacobson's team has tasted striking distance, but the Ramblers keep them at bay.
Make way for me. Legendary.
College basketball on CBS Sports Network is sponsored by State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
53-41, Loyola Chicago, the advantage on Northern Iowa. Headed your way next inside college basketball. Our college hoops experts will talk all things conference tournament, break down the matchups, their incomparable projections. Bracket week continues here on CBS Sports Network. UNI has gone ice cold. All game, it hasn't been pretty, but particularly in the second half. In the last 11 minutes, they're 0 for their last 10 from the field. They're a combined 3 of 18 since halftime. And if there's any team in America, any program, I should more accurately say, that's acutely aware of what a comeback can look like, it's Ben Jacobson and UNI. They were on the wrong side in 2016 of the Big Dance of the biggest comeback / meltdown of the final minute of the game in tournament history. And they blew a 12-point advantage with 1 minute to go and lost in double overtime to Texas A&M. There's a lot of time left in this game. And while the game has comfortably been in the Ramblers' clutches, it's only a 12-point game.
you're right. It just feels like it's 25, though, doesn't it?
It does. I totally agree.
But, you know, back-to-back threes, it's just that I don't know how they're going to be able to score. There's just a lack of movement here. Now you got some guys moving around, but it's like everyone just standing there waiting for the ball, A.J. Green.
Burhow, defended by Ublock. Carter, deep, contested three. All fire, and Williamson has it.
I really hope Loyola gets into the tournament. Just ask Auburn, who they took right down to the wire, or Michigan State, who they lost on the last possession. Their net being a 29. I know Jerry Palm right now kind of has that look of Allen from The Hangover, like in his eyes with all the numbers and stuff when he get like, that's what he's looking at. But this is eyeball test, a tournament team. Do you agree?
Yes, they look like they are capable and deserving of being in the tournament and of making noise, of doing damage in the tournament.
Absolutely, because they defend. And they have veterans and guys that have been through the wars. This guy's been superb today on defense. That was his job, to slow down the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year, and he has done it.
Williamson converts. Well, really, to me, it comes down to this, right? Barring winning the conference tournament, then it's a moot point. They're automatically in. When you're talking about at-large entry, it really comes down to how the country, how the selection committee views the conference. They lack numerous quality signature wins. And most of them are within league and the neutral floor against San Francisco, some named programs who are not as nationally competitive, let's be frank, and some close losses to some ranked teams. Michigan State has tumbled since then. Auburn is still elite. It really comes down to, what do you read into the tight four-way bunch-up at the top of the valley? Is that because the top of the valley is really good or not?
I believe it's really good.
I agree.
And now I cover the league, and I think there are other leagues out there that don't get the same publicity. Net 29, I'm sorry, that's automatic, you're in. It's usually under 40, you're automatic, you're in.
Well, I think they've been pretty clear, though, in the last few weeks that net is by far not the one number they're looking at. That it doesn't have that magic RPI weight of 10, 15 years ago, that they look at all of the metrics. And I don't know that we've arrived at a number yet in the net era or any of the similar metrics that exist that has been a true magic number. It is so relative to every team in every season.
Then why have the net if we're not going to abide by it?
It's not a hard line. You don't want the BCS in college basketball, do you?
No, but it's something that you're saying, well, it kind of matters when and I agree with you, but it should be like, well, this is what they've done, and this is where eyeball test. I watch a lot of college basketball, and that's why the Valley, over the last couple of years, 12-1 first-round games in the last 10 years. So not only do they get into the tournament, they beat whoever they play. Last year, Drake won a game. Loyola goes to Sweet 16. It's like, are you not entertained?
I'm entertained when I watch Braden Norris. 7 of 10 from the field, 18 points. Green contested up top.
This has been one of the more frustrating games, John, I have watched as a basketball fan trying to watch A.J. Green here. An elite player. I don't know the offensive scheme. Obviously, I wasn't in the locker room before the game, but they just put a lot of pressure on him from the word go. And I said it numerous times. If we're going to be standing around watching A.J. Green go one-on-one, they're going to be in big trouble in this game.
And that has been the case most of the day. Foul to Burhow is first. Kennedy, 74% shooter, converts. And at this point, 2.5 minutes to go, and the lead is ballooned all the more. It feels like the window dressing of the market. And the Rambler fans can taste it. Their last go-round of the Valley. Will they be in the title tilt? Their largest lead of the game now enjoyed with 2.5 minutes left. And Drew Valentine said this year, we didn't win the league. We've got to prove we're the best team. The lowest seed they've had in 5 years due to tiebreakers. With that logjam up at the top. Burhow. In and out. And now the most animated defensive pressure the Panthers have shown in the game. And it comes facing their largest deficit with 2 minutes to go to give a foul.
I love that Drew Valentine, created that narrative of, hey, we're not the favorites. Come on. We all know you're the favorites. Loyola Chicago. You lost one game at Northern Iowa. They called you for like 610 fouls. You lost in overtime 102 to 96.
I mean, they didn't lose 5 league games. They're 13-5 in the league this year. But I agree with you. Yes, if you're asking me, who is shaping up based on pedigree, based on player personnel, based on history, well, reigning tournament champs, probably a pretty good choice.
They just have a certain Sister Jean swagger this time of year. And a belief last year got to a Sweet 16, knocked off the #1 seed in Illinois. Drew Valentine, 30 years young, about to go to his first Missouri Valley Conference final.
Green down the lane. And that just feels like the day. Ben Jacobson thought he should foul there. They will give the foul. 1:48 left. Now, we asked Ben Jacobson if he had any thoughts on Loyola's departure from the Missouri Valley Conference. And he said, I thought quite poetically and succinctly, just think of how much they've done for our league, how they've raised the profile of the league, the success that you've mentioned that they've had on the biggest stage in the NCAA tournament. I say thank you.
And you want to know something? If they didn't win the Missouri Valley Conference tournament that year, they would not have gotten in. We would have never knew the gem that Sister Jean, the whole world wouldn't have been captivated. That's what I mean. Like, the tournament needs to put aside and give those, I don't want to call them little guys, but those mid-majors or non-power 5, that opportunity on that stage. Because when they get the opportunity, man, they made some noise. And not just Loyola, whether it's Wichita State or VCU.
And you see the emotion on the face of A.J. Green. Can't imagine what's going through that young man's head. All the fight and rehab to get through the 2 hip surgeries. Carter in and out. Bourne able to save it. Carter had it knocked away. Foul given. And now Ben Jacobson mouths, don't foul. Green's on the bench. These are the repeat winners of March Madness of this conference tournament. There have been 4 in the last decade plus. Could Loyola Chicago become the 5th in that span and punch a ticket to the big dance in back-to-back years? That hasn't happened for the Ramblers in almost 60 years. The 62-63 team, the 63-64 team. Drew Valentine subbing out some of the stars. Woodwalk and Kennedy. St. Thomas has checked in as he goes deeper to his bench. Jacob Hudson is in.
You see the footwear today from Valentine? Very impressive there. Jordan 1s, low cut. And he told us yesterday he's got a different pair of sneakers for each round. It's like Willie Mays Hayes. Every base he steals, he's going to kind of nail that batting glove up on the wall.
Panthers last gasp. Erhow off. Rambler ball. Thomas. Cole Henry defends in the post against Hudson. Each team's gone deep to its bench. Hudson able to rebound the miss. And Drew Valentine is still coaching hard. 3-ball St. Thomas. That's his first 3 since the next to last day of January. And the Panthers have missed 16 consecutive field goal tries. Foul go on Will Alcock, his first.
Was the deciding factor in this game, as you see, heartbreak there for UNI fans. Was the deciding factor the 8-0 run before the first half?
What do you think?
I asked you first, but I think it was. because it was like, oh, UNI maybe cuts this to 5 or 6. They make a push in the second half. Instead, 8-0 run and 16-point lead. And it was like, oh, good luck trying to overcome 16 points against Loyola.
It's felt like a methodical build throughout the game. Antoine Kimmons, young man who took most of last year off, played 3 games, and then returned home to help and support his family. So here come the Ramblers. Shot and game clock nearly identical. As it stands, they're ready to close the game on an 11-1 run. A.J. Green can only watch. In his final game against the Missouri Valley Conference foe in this tournament. The Ramblers, as the clock hits 0, will watch the Panthers chuck it in, and Drew Valentine and company say they have something to prove. We'll have the biggest stage in this league to do it. The youngest head coach in Division I has had a splash of a debut season. Drew Valentine, his 24th win, and the Ramblers are on to the Missouri Valley Conference Championship game, besting Northern Iowa 66-43. The lowest point output by the Panthers in a game this year. Thanks to the Rambler defense, they'll await the victors of still to come, Missouri State and Drake.
Yeah, it's hard to say who they want to see more. Drake's playing their best basketball of the year. They've won 6 straight. And Isaiah Mosley in Chicago had 40 points on the Ramblers, but Loyola had payback when they went down to Springfield and knocked off Missouri State. So it's hard to predict who you want to see if you're Loyola, but it's been all about the defense in St. Louis for the Ramblers.
Well, their final go-around in this tournament, Drew Valentine, the animated and enjoyable head coach, tastes victory, and he's with our own Evan Washburn.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the win. A week removed from surrendering 102 points and losing to this team. A lot to choose from, I'm sure, but what was the main difference?
Just our mentality and approach from the jump. I mean, I kind of talked about it at halftime. And I've been saying it like in my press conferences and in the media. I think that we've been improving as a defensive team. I really do. I know we gave up 102 last Saturday, but if you look at that game as an outlier because of, shooting the other team shooting 42 free throws, I think we're, been defending at a decently high level. And so we got really good players that want to win. They got experience. And, Northern Iowa, I have tremendous respect for Ben Jacobson, for that program, for A.J. Green, for Bowen Bourne, Austin Fife. Just can't say enough of good things about their culture, what they've been able to do in this league. But I got some really good players in my locker room, and they stepped up, and they were ready to go tonight.
Thanks for the time. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
The deadly defense of Drew Valentine's Ramblers hold the Panthers without a field goal made for the last 15-plus minutes. Smiles from Sister Jean. The Ramblers are on to the title game. For Tim Doyle, Evan Washburn, and our entire crew, I'm John Sadak. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network. We send you back to Brent the Gang in New York City.
Hey there, and welcome to Inside College Basketball Bracket Week, presented by Kubota. I'm Brent Stover alongside Chris Walker and our CBS Sports College Basketball Insider, John Rothstein. Coach Valentine, kudos. He's a stand-up guy. He's good in an interview, and he's good on the sidelines. That's a resounding victory in a big spot against the 1 seed.
Well, this to me did not look just like a Loyola Chicago team that could win Arch Madness. This looked like to me a team from Loyola Chicago that could advance in the NCAA tournament. Marquise Kennedy is a difference maker for the Ramblers. When he is in the lineup this season, Chris, Loyola Chicago is 17-4.
Unbelievable. You know what, after watching that video, how impressive is he to be able to continue what Porter Moser built. And right now, again, I still think they have to keep winning. We'll see what happens in the next semifinal game.
When you've got a veteran that's been to the Final Four like Lucas Williamson, that just sets the tone for everything.
It's invaluable, and it's a precursor to what we're going to see right now throughout the next couple of years in college basketball. It is advantageous for more teams in the sport to have players come back because of the COVID year due to the pandemic. Look, facts are facts. Villanova, your alma mater, the place where you worked and did 2 tours of duty, would not be the same team this year if it didn't have Colin Gillespie and Jermaine Samuels. This right now is something that you will see more and more programs do over the next couple of years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We saw an announcement this week from San Diego State that Matt Bradley will return next year. That means that San Diego State, barring something unforeseen, you never know what happens with the transfer portal, will return the Mountain West Conference preseason player of the year. It's a real chip for a lot of teams to play with. Loyola Chicago has made year 1 for Drew Valentine somewhat of a seamless transition because so many players came back.
He's 30 years of age. It's
your age.
Unbelievable. Yeah, right. 19 for Braden Norris. It's a resounding victory by 23. Look at the Arch Madness bracket now as we gear up for the next semifinal matchup. Missouri State swept the season series. So how does Drake here flip the script in this matchup in the 2-3 game second semifinal?
I mean, they're going to have to do a great job on offense, right? They need to score the basketball. They need to make some threes. That's what they have not done in both games against Missouri State. But Dana Ford has done a great job. Came from Tennessee State, good friend of mine. He's really just, built this program and brought him back. And how about this? If they can find a way to get to the tournament, since 1999, Steve Alford, my old boss, that's how long it's been. And if they got in the championship game, they lost 6 straight times. So it's going to be challenging, but Drake, they're no slouch themselves.
And ironically enough, we know we've obviously mistaken Chris Walker for Nostradamus a couple of times before. Who did? Southwest Missouri State at the time lose to in the Sweet 16 in 1999. The Duke Blue Devils, coached by some guy named Krzyzewski.
Amazing. All right, it all comes together. Big night for Coach K. We'll get into that. We're with you all night long. We got you covered with highlights from around the country, including number 7 Kentucky taking on Florida. That and more when we come back on Inside College Basketball.